Hey guys, we've got news on Global for April 2nd, and this week joining me for the very packed news is Gerrtt. So you can say hello, Gerrtt, introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning, Sinzar, and good morning to everybody. I figured since we had so much to talk about today that you'd probably want to have somebody who was really good at talking about nothing for like an hour straight. So here I am. Let's do this thing.
Oh, yes, we have some time to fill with all this news. So, as people have probably already noticed right here on the screen, this is our banner for the week. We're not getting a new unit, we're getting reruns of Void Mage Roka, Blade of Vengeance Ibarra, Blood Dancer Elisperis, and Wings of Midnight Malphasie, all for a brand new Vision card. So, just right away, Gerrtt, what are we thinking about just like a nothing week? There's no event, there's no new unit, it's just completely dead. How do you feel about it?
I mean, the first time it happened several weeks ago, it kind of stung a little bit. Then the second time, it was like, okay, I guess we're kind of getting used to it. But like, here we are, like, second week in a row, like in the midst of what's supposed to be like super hype collab time, and there's nothing going on, which is like really, really bizarre because they made such a big push for how exciting it was during the live stream, and then they made like daily posts on social media about how exciting the Xenogears collab was going to be, and now here we are in the second week of it with nothing related to Xenogears.
And they even did
It's
that,
strange.
like the Twitter and the Facebook thing saying a bunch of stuff is coming in May,
Yes.
and nothing, still, nothing.
Nothing. Well, they made that post with no dates on it officially.
True.
You know, there were no formal commitment to when it was going to happen. Just May. So be ready for May 31st. April.
Um,
I think there's 31 days in May. I can't remember.
I never remember that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But the vision card is right here. So the graphic is Lucius, Demon of Death and Destruction. The card itself seems decent at face value. It's a 170 card, so huge thumbs up for that. It's got the 80 attack power and magic, 50 LB damage, some killers against Machina, some evasions, all pretty nice. And then for dark and clash units, we've got 750 attack power. Although you were saying, Gerrtt, that, or attack and magic, but you were saying that at the current time, this is a really narrow list of units, right? That match
Yes.
both.
As of right now, it's 5 units total. So depending on what's maybe coming out, in upcoming months for Clash of Wills and Dark, that's a really small list. I will say though, I mean, having 150% killer on a single slot is pretty high. I think that's the highest source of a single amount of a killer in the entire game.
Now that you mention it, I do think that is correct. I don't think I've ever seen over 100 for a single killer on one source. You're right. I think 100
Mhm.
was the maximum previously. So yeah, that is a lot.
Yeah, plus the evasions, I mean, potentially useful.
And actually, if you just take away the dark part entirely, just ignore that, this is still just a 500, 170 card is really good for all the Clash of Wills units. Obviously, it's
Hmm.
better on like Ibarra and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
there's a lot that this is just great on, even so.
Yeah, it's not a bad card at all.
So, speaking of that, now that we've said the card is very good, is it worth 25,000 on kind of a nothing banner with good units, but older units that are just not as meta relevant these days? Is this a 25K card in your opinion?
Well, you're also getting one, two, three, four, five, six, uh, 7 guaranteed Neos along the way,
True.
and an armory ticket, and 2,000 of some Lapis replica,
Oh,
and
I
yeah,
didn't even notice that. It's got an armory ticket. Oh, okay,
it does.
okay.
So you got your tower defense there, and you got your killer of myths and all that fun stuff.
Okay. So overall, I mean,
I
the
think it's got a lot of
value's
goes in it.
okay. Yeah, it's not like the best value, but it's decent. For newer players, I don't know. So it's kind of like a conundrum for me. Like even though this is really high value, would I recommend the newer player to go for this, getting old meta as opposed to putting that 25k towards like the next big thing? It's always kind of like a tricky situation. I don't know.
And it does say that it only includes units up to a certain date. So if you scroll down just a little bit,
April 18th. So
April 18th. So it doesn't include any of the Xenogears.
No Xenos, yeah. I don't know. So I guess people have to make their own decision if this is working or not. So I'm probably going to be bypassing this. I've already gotten the choice items out of the armory. The card is nice, but it's not really doing anything unique. It's just a stack card. It's a good card, but I've got a decent amount of cards. How about you, Gerrt? Do you see yourself pulling 25k on this?
I am a lot more prone to pull for a card if it happens to be like on banner for a unit I want. So like when I was pulling for Celeste, I went ahead and got the card that was on her step up. Things like that. I tend to focus more on those rather than the ones that are just standalone like this. There's been a couple times where that's bitten me. Like the one with like it had Esther and Sylvie on it, and it had like chain cap and true double hand and stuff like that on it.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
I skipped that one, and that's come back to bite me a couple times. But like I think for me and the way I pull and spend in the game, like I just the standalones that don't get you anything except for old units, like for me doesn't usually work out.
Yeah,
not for me.
Same here. And then we're getting this banner. So we were talking ahead of time. We can't really figure out if this is a totally freebie gift, if this is like a cash banner, if this is a Lapis banner. We can't really tell. We're kind of leaning towards it being a freebie pull, we think. We don't know, but if it is a free pull, 24 guaranteed Neos, that's pretty generous, huh?
I think it's insanely generous, especially considering there's 24 more on top of it that could be it's a 3% chance. So you're guessing probably like 1 to 2 more Neos on top of that. If you're me, they're actually going to take some Neos away because that's how my luck tends to be. But you were saying though that like in the Japanese version, when the Xenogears banner was going on, that they did give away a bunch of Neovisions units, including some of the Xenogears units. So can you say more about that?
Yep. I don't remember the exact specific details, but something that the JP server often does during collaborations is they'll usually give you a copy guaranteed, sometimes 2 or 3 copies guaranteed, of the older versions of that collaboration. So in JP, the Holy Mother Ellie, the Emperor's Guard Citan, I'm forgetting the exact name, but you get the idea. Graf, Id, those 4. The 4 older Neo bases. You got, I think it was 2 tickets to get those guaranteed randomly. I got, I think, Ellie and Graf on JP. And then Global, we didn't get those, at least not yet. So I'm thinking this might be Global's alternative, because it does say that Xenos are included. So maybe this is our alternative, I guess. I hope.
I hope so too. Like they've certainly done things like that before, like with like when we got oh gosh, but like it had like Duran. You got the Duran.
Oh, twice.
Yes. So like they've definitely given those kind of old collab units out, like and I hope it'd be nice to get some Xenogears units. That's for sure.
Yeah. For some bonus, because we do know we're getting the farm event and the Vision World at some point in May.
Yeah.
So speaking of kind of right there about the Xenogears, so have you had much luck on your video summons this week, Gerrt?
I got a Kimari this morning.
A Kimari,
Yeah.
So I'll show off a little bit. Video summons were kind of kind to me. As you can see, I got myself a Maria. And as cool as that is, very, very honestly speaking, when I saw the crystal go red and then I saw it do that little purple flash signifying it's gonna be Neo Plus, I was kind of like, aw, because I'd really rather Bart over Maria from those two options. Like Bart,
Yeah.
I feel is just the better unit because of the leader skill. But Maria's fine, but
Yeah.
I was hoping it was Bart. I was hoping.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I tell you what, now that you've got her, does that make you want to maybe go after Bart a little bit?
I did have like 3 tickets from I'm not even sure what relic rewards or whatever, and I did use all 3 on the banner. They were all like blue and gold, so I didn't get anything, but that's kind of as far as I was willing to go. We've still got, how does that actually work? Now that we've got no new banner, are video summons still going to be rated up for Maria and Bart this coming week?
So if you go back, to the there is actually a slide about the daily video summons and the update that they're doing
Oh,
to it.
I didn't even open that one. I couldn't
So
find it.
so like for this, so week 1 is like May 2 to May
Right here.
8. It says that certain units added will be included up to that point.
Okay. But do you know if they're going to have like rate up? Because right now it's like 1% Bart, 1% Maria, 1% off banner, I think. If you get a red. Is it gonna still be the 1%, or is it gonna be like a shared 0.2% among all Neos?
I hope so, because at this point they have not given us a new unit to like bump that out. So I hope that they would just leave it alone for 2 weeks.
Yeah, because I'm really hoping for Bart, just for because we got the Stern to EX1 for free. I've got him in the Shard dungeon, so he's gonna be EX2, within 30 days. With the VIP coins, Maria with that 1 copy is EX2. And then 1 copy of Bart with VIP coins and I think 2200 Lapis. That's EX2 as well. So like I would have literally the entire Holy Party if I got Bart. Because I've got Celeste, got Maria, got Stern. If I pull Bart, I've got Noctis, I've got Prompto. I am just the entire loadout for Holy. I am good to go if I get that Bart.
Okay. Well, there's a piece of me that's kind of sitting on like whether or not I want to do pulls for Bart personally. Like I've got some Lapis. I don't know if I haven't really fully made my mind up. But who knows? Maybe if you feel like you need to go for Bart, maybe we just go head to head.
It could be. Oh man.
You have put some people to shame in the past, that's for sure.
Oh, I know. I can like siphon
on
all
holy
your,
units
all
too.
your luck. Could be fun.
Yeah.
And then the only other new news for the week is yet again another version of Lapis replica. So when this was early on a thing, I was kind of like, this is kind of cool because it was basically a freebie source of unit fragments when they gave you the new unit fragments in those. Then like 2 or 3 versions of this, they eventually took those away. They're now gone forever. At this point, these Lapis replicas feel like just like a pure downgrade over getting real Lapis. Is that how you feel about it, or do you feel differently about it? Do you think these are still really good, or like, what are your thoughts on this whole replica thing going on?
I feel the same way. At this point, you can't. You can only buy 5 fragments per stack of 5,000, and you can only get 2 of them total. If you wanted to go buy unit fragments, and if you wanted to roll your dice on trying to get units out off banner, they do have those tickets, but like the rate's really bad, even though they're quote unquote rate up for the week that they're on banner, and without being able to like guarantee what you're getting, it just seems like a very easy way to like just like give us basically nothing. Like I remember when Ellisparus was on banner, and I used my tickets trying to get an Ellisparus. Or was it Ellisparus or Chow? Either way, I used the like 10+1 tickets that are like supposed to be on banner for the week, and like got nothing out of it. And it was just like, well, there goes 15,000 Lapis replica, that I could have spent on anything else, buying Evoker or something silly like that, And I just feel like it's a total dice roll, and either you have fantastic luck with it and you love it, or you end up hating it the way it is right now. So
yeah, exactly.
I haven't spent any of my current one, if that's what you're asking.
So the past 2 shops, because we don't have like the current fragments available, there's nothing really to buy. I have been buying those like 10+1 on banner tickets, and so for the past 2 shops, I bought all 3 of them. So that is 6. of the 10 plus ones, all 6 of them, all 6, have given me 0 reds. Not no on banners, no reds whatsoever from
That's
all
been
6
my
of them.
experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, these are a total scam, worthless. I'd much rather this like 20,000 replica lapis being real lapis, because then it can go towards a pity of a real banner. But yeah.
Or even better, like just put the unit fragments back. Let us spend 5,000 for 50 and be done with it.
That'd be perfect.
Really that bad?
Yeah, because I actually liked this replica system in the day, because it was like, I'd spend the entire bunch on the 50 unit fragments. I just get all kinds. That's how I got my EX2 Agrius, EX2 Galoof, etc., because I grabbed all their fragments from these shops when they were available. And it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But now we can't.
Yeah, sad times in the kingdom.
And as far as the current global news, that's basically it. So, yeah, I do want to talk about some other stuff, but I just let people know that are here specifically for the weekly news. That's kind of the end of it.
Yeah.
I wish we had more to say. It's a completely dead week. We do know that in the future we're going to be getting the Xenogears farming event, the Xenogears Vision World. The Vision World, I've seen people keep saying, when is Vision World? Like, it's almost guaranteed to be on the 22nd, just because of the end dates. Obviously, Gumi could swap whatever they want, but probably the 22nd. Meaning next week is probably the farming event. Would make sense, right?
That would make sense, because those are probably going to run for, 2-3 weeks? And then Dark Vision's or Vision World's probably going to run for 2. So that would take us into June.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right. So that was that. Now, I guess the other thing, I was just, for something to talk about, I just bring up some of the JP news because, there's nothing else to talk about on Global. So this week, JP, or Tite, in fact, JP is getting 2 new units, a new version of Rain and a new version of Tyvis. Both of them are very, very strong, similar to Cloud, Clive, etc. It's like a whole nother wave of power creep. And just real quick, I'm going to pop over to my DPS spreadsheet, and I can just point out, both for people, because people are going to be asking me, why did these units move so much, etc. But something else that is like another form of power creep is JP is now giving two-handed weapons with 1.5 to 2.0 variants. This is just way higher variants than has ever existed, ever. Except back in the fixed dice days. And currently it's just a greatsword. There's one copy of a greatsword two-hander that is 1.5 to 2.0 variants. And so on my spreadsheet, I have just updated some greatsword users that use this, like the new Rain, Cloud specifically, Tyvis, and some other units. But so people that are asking, why did all of a sudden Cloud gain 1 billion damage or something? It's because he got a new weapon with 1.75 average variance. It's crazy. And before anyone asks me why isn't Clive using it, because he can technically use great swords, he is very much aligned to swords, and his STMR is giving him a large amount of attack power. It's like a big loss for Clive to go great swords, for anyone that's asking. But
it is worth pointing out that Cloud has jumped above Clive.
With this new greatsword. Yeah, Cloud seems to be the sure thing going forward. Do you think, just, based on 7 years of history, Gerrt, do you think Global is going to, leap above Cloud? Because they've kind of gotten a reputation for doing that. For example, an old example is, Axstar, the 7-star Axstar, was the big meta for everyone to save for, and then, Esper came out. So do you think they're going to do that again? When Cloud is due to come, there's going to all of a sudden be, crazy Pansy Lena that is now doing 20% more damage than Cloud. Do you think they're going to do that?
I fully expect them to do that, and I also fully expect them to make her wind element for no reason, just because wind has no future, right? So like what they'll do
Pretty
is all of a
much.
sudden they will make wind good for no reason other than because we've all been planning for fire. So I've just learned over 7 years to just play the game. Like to look at what unit seems good when it comes out. Does a unit seem valuable in the moment? Because all of a sudden you might be planning and planning and planning, and they're not going to do this to Cloud because it's Cloud, right? But like, you know, Hater and Zyle and Maria are all having tea somewhere because they're just not being played with because they don't exist, and they get replaced with other stuff like Malphase and now in a lot of ways Celeste and things like that. So I don't plan for the future. As weird as that sounds, like I know that I'm the prepper guy, but like I have to plan off of what we know is going to be in our hands, and yeah. As much fun as that big fire combo, the fire overdrive combo sounds like, they're just going to make a wind version that's going to be better a week later, and that's just going to be what it is.
Mm-hmm. So, just your opinion once again, out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on just the way that JP is seemingly just kind of running wild with power creep? Like, again, these units are just jumping so much week to week to where it feels like, just as you can see on this chart, like Jill just came out 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and she's doing like almost half the damage of Crimson Rain coming out tonight. Like, they're creeping just dramatically amounts week to week. Do you think this is going to cause long-term problems? Do you think it's fine to just jump power creep so much in such a short period and just keep on doing it? Like, just what are your overall philosophy on how you feel about power creep in a game and this level of rampant power creep?
Well, I guess the big question is, are they also giving out Lapis to allow you to obtain said units?
JP definitely gives out a lot more Lapis than Global does. They always have in the past. On the other hand, their banners are usually more expensive and more poorly formatted. So I've always said, it sort of balances out. That's not so much the case these days because like about half of Global's free Lapis is now that stupid replica Lapis. We're not getting the real Lapis anymore. So I guess it really is true that JP is giving a lot more spendable Lapis than Global is these days. But
because if you can't get Lapis without spending money to get these units, then the power creep's absurd, and because like you're just not gonna be able to keep up, like unless you're shelling out money for it. So I guess like for me, like a player like me, I would have a hard time. Crimson Night Rain would look really exciting, but then if it's jumping this much every week, like what's going to be next week, and why would I buy this when I think something better is going to come along next week?
Yeah, and if you're asking, like, is JP giving enough to like pull every week, then absolutely not. Oh no.
Oh no,
no way.
But if you could kind of like look at it for like a month and be like, okay, I'm kind of interested in this combo or this whatever, that you might be able to chase one or, hopefully get lucky on two.
Yep. And again, just so we have something to talk about, because it's a news video, I want to talk about something. I'll just mention something else that JP did tonight. And I will just show you a real quick example from the Discord where Nazda posts like the unit updates per week. This is the unit updates that JP just added on a random patch day. Like, this is not a special day. This is not some big collaboration. It's not a celebration. It's a Tuesday on JP. And this is like the kind of unit updates they do week by week by week. We've got something like 9 or 10 units being updated. And some of these updates, honestly speaking, are irrelevant. Like Dorgan. Dorgan got a lot more damage. I haven't calculated it, but I can almost bet you money he's still going to be worthless. But some of these are really good. Like Leftia became a 50% fire field, which is something I think Fire even had a 50% amp field before. Rydia got amplifies. some of these got 89% breaks, like what's her name, Summoner Lena, stuff like that. And like the upgraded Tyvis and Yish and Van Harma, who pop back to the spreadsheet, like they're obviously behind the craziness like Rain, but they're among the top of the meta, beating out units that came out a month ago, like Bosch and Furion and Red. We've got like the basically free Tyvis and Yish and Van Harma doing absurd damage. And Global does none of this. Like Global, we get 2 unit updates a year, if that, and half of them are bad, like Shui Yu's Latents. So it kills me to see this kind of stuff. And some people will say different game and all, which is, I understand. I don't expect them to copy it word for word, but I feel like Global should be doing something with our units. It's almost like Global has this absolute aversion to upgrading anything old. And it drives me up a wall that they are so anti-upgrading old units. And then when a unit does become slightly better by accident, like Noctis and that Bracer, like they are quick to jump and fix that. Like, oh, we cannot have Noctis being good. I know it was the bug fix. I know it in reality probably should have been fixed. But even so, like, are they going to jump out of bed to fix an accidental buff, but they won't do anything to give us either JP crowns, global exclusive crowns, global updates? Like, nothing. They don't do anything, and it kills me. So, Gerrtt, how do you feel about it?
Favorites though too. Like,
go ahead.
Like Ed, I was gonna say some of these characters are fan favorites, like Edge, Rydia, and Kayn. Like people love Final Fantasy IV.
Oh yeah.
Lena. People love Final Fantasy V. So and this has got to be what Edge's like 3rd batch of updates. Like it's like it's wild. Why can't we have nice things? Why can't we get benefit out of having these characters in our inventory rather than having to pull, whatever global exclusive Thunderbreaker that they create for Clash of Wills? Like, I understand the value of it because, like, Clash of Wills potentially generates, income and gives us something to do and, like, gives us cool units. But, like, that doesn't mean that we don't also enjoy sometimes being able to break out somebody who's slightly less good, just to be able to have some fun with it, or because it's a fan favorite character or something like that. Like, I have Summoner Rydia. I've never even used her, like not a single time, because by the time I got her, she was already worthless. I'm pretty sure she was worthless when she came out. But like, it would be nice to be able to use a character that is one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise.
For sure, and a lot of these, like I don't think any of these become like really meta. But they become usable, and especially for people that make guides for like newer players, this is the kind of stuff we live for, is cheaper alternatives to the meta units. And
which I think is probably the problem with Noctis, right? So I think you demonstrated pretty clearly that with the Bracer, Noctis was doing more damage than current units were doing, or or right at that level, and that wasn't just giving a slight buff to a unit that's been in the game for a year and a half, but like bringing a unit that was less than a year old up to current standards or better, which I could see that as being potentially problematic, especially with the vagueness of how the Bracer was originally presented to us. I mean, I went back and listened to it recently, and what was stated during the live stream was this is the first ability that will increase the duration of an LB buff. What does LB buff mean? Does it mean LB modifier buff? Does it mean LB percentage buff? That's really vague, and the what's in the news about it is vague as well. So it's really hard to say like what that really meant. But I mean, obviously, what it was doing for Noctis was too much in their eyes, compared to like giving Lena 1% more break or 5% more field or something like that.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So the Noctis thing, I speaking honestly, I really did expect them to fix it, because I definitely knew it was probably crossing the line of what was reasonable. And also, I mean, I even said from day one, I realized this is unintended. It's not supposed to work this way. I knew that. But it's just like the example it sets, that they're so quick to jump on a positive change for an older unit, even if it's an unintended one. Whereas months and months and months go by where we get 0 updates for units. We get no crowns, no enhancements, nothing. We don't get the JP version, and we don't get global exclusive versions.
And by the way, the friends list still does not work.
Oh my god. Are we overdue for the friends list refresh button? I know JP added one.
Yes.
I don't remember when they added. Are we past that point in the update schedule where it should have been here already? I don't know.
I don't know. It at this point, it's just fun to just say that the final boss is the friends list, because it is what it is, and I understand that doesn't make them any money. So why would you invest time in trying to fix it? But like, come on.
It's such a big deal too. Not even kidding, because if you saw some of the videos I posted this weekend where I did a bunch of content on the JP server,
you have been very active.
I know, and each of those I had one specific friend build for me for that trial that I was working on, and JP has that button, and I used that button so much, and it's a godsend. Like, I would sit there, and for it's a 4-second cooldown. I would refresh, and within like 20 seconds, I'd have the friend I was looking for. I just refreshed the list with one little click. It's so good. Like I'm sure you can imagine, but
I can.
I wish Global would bring that over, and I don't know if it's late or if it's scheduled to come in the future. But whenever it is scheduled, Global, please bring it, because it is night and day the quality of life when that comes.
Yeah, although that would require us to have content that you could take friends to, and not just Clash of Clans.
My God, that's so true. Oh, geez. And, speaking of, this is going to be, like, potentially a controversial thing to even mention, but a question I get asked pretty often these days is it worth for a player that, like, loves Brave Exvius and just wants content, is it worth it for them to start fresh on the JP server? It's a question I get asked pretty often. I usually say, make that decision yourself, because it's a huge time investment starting from 0, especially if, Japanese is not your native language. But that's what I usually say. What would you say to a player, Gerrtt, that says, with the state of Global, and I just want to play the game, but I can't on Global because we don't have a game to play, should I start the JP server? What do you think?
So here's what I'll say about that. If you can figure out how to play, right? If you can figure out what the skills are and what the abilities are, and how to navigate what you need to navigate, all it takes is getting the right banner to come along and the right luck on said banner to be able to like totally set up an account. Probably the best example of this that I can give is I on a whim kind of just created a side account when Hyo's banner was active, and just kind of gathered up the Lapis to kind of pull on that banner, and all of a sudden I had an over 150 rank account that was clearing Clash of Wills, because I had a solid collection of units that were on banner. That's not going to happen for everybody, but all it takes is getting, the right support, a good DPS, a couple breakers, and then you can really do a lot of damage, and get stuff done and have fun doing it, with, a really overpowered team. And then the way things are in JP now, with like Cloud, Clive, Jill, etc., like you could theoretically set up a really, really strong account and have some fun with it if you know what you're doing.
Yep, and the same example would be could be done for me is when I did that new player series.
Yes.
Over the course of like 2 weeks, brand new account, 100% free to play. I went from literally nothing to getting rank 1 in Vision World within 2 weeks. And I also cleared the Clash of Wills on level 99 at that point too, with a few modifiers. Not a rank 1 in Clash of Wills, but I cleared it.
You also know what you're doing though, so you
True.
knew, okay, if I get this unit and this unit, okay, now I can chain these things together and I can go grab this piece of gear and now I've got this, and you could do that. I don't think the average person who doesn't really fully understand all the mechanics of the game and knows what's great in the game can do that. But like with the right mindset and the right luck, you could definitely switch over to JP and have some fun.
And
there's certainly plenty to do.
That new player account series definitely showed that I know what I'm doing when I killed my entire party with Terra. That was great.
That was fantastic.
I'll never forget that. It was so good. Uh, but yeah, so I guess at the end of the day, the story is like we just hope Global can bring us something to do because this week we've got nothing, nothing at all. I guess
Yeah.
Clash of Wills is still open for another week. And
Yeah.
you said you were working on some new Clash of Wills clears, Gerrt. Do we have anything to look forward to from your end coming up soon?
Um, I was trying to mess around with using a Tifa clear because Tifa actually does gear really easily for this Clash of Wills. She naturally gears for Beast and then already has some human and machine in her kit. But I tell you what, her damage is just not. It's just not really holding up.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the thing I was worried about. I have still not Neo Visions Plus my Tifa.
Mm-hmm.
At first, it was because I was very worried about the blue pearls. It seems that the blue pearl situation is mostly evening out to where we're kind of stable on them. It looks like.
Yeah,
So
I would say as long as you don't awaken everything. Like I would say if you get a Neo Plus unit and like, you happen to get them to like EX2, I would wait until then to Neo Plus them. But that's just me.
mm-hmm. But yeah, not much else to do. I might do another Clash of Wills clear. I feel like I've kind of sort of covered all the bases. I did a budget run. I did a few high end runs, but
I mean, really, you're only changing 3 units, right? You're gonna keep Abigail, Melissa, and Kaito, and then you're just gonna swap out 3 damage dealers.
and that is
That's
kind
your
of
Clash of Wills clear.
that's kind of like I don't know, like they're so good and they're such staple units. I feel like, and because they're so available with unit picks, I feel like people should really have Melissa by this point. And if they don't, like, what are you doing?
Well, isn't she in the shop, or is that Abigail that's in the shop?
Oh, I think
I'm
she
looking.
is. I know Abigail is. I think Melissa is too, honestly.
Well, and I know you have certainly advocated for people getting. It's
Mm-hmm.
just Abigail. I know you've like advocated for people.
And these.
Please pick Melissa with your guaranteeds. Yeah,
Yeah, we get these like every 2 months, and that's a guaranteed unit pick, and then a guaranteed 100 charge. Like you could have EX3'd her months
easily.
back without ever pulling a single copy.
Yeah.
So
I think I've maybe pulled 2 copies of Melissa total, and I have EX3.
yeah, so that's kind of the reason I like frequently use like someone like Melissa because she is such a check every single box unit for these Clash of Wills, and I feel like people should have her at this point. So people are like, do a no Melissa clear. I'm like, you a
No.
brand new player. Why don't you have Melissa?
Yeah. I'm sorry that they keep making things that are either weak to dark or have human or beast or dragon or all three at the same time.
Yeah. But
She's
all right,
silly.
so we turned a pretty much no news week into a 40-minute video. So I want to thank you again, Gerrtt, for staying up. This is like a really early video for both of us, or late, depending on how you look at it. News was not on time today.
Listen, I'm here for it. I enjoy chit-chatting with you and talking about the drama and the stuff and brainstorming, It's fun. Fun times.
All right, so thanks again, and I'll see you guys for something next week. We'll figure it out
Yeah. Have a good night.
later.